With the 5th overall pick, the Philadelphia Flyers are proud to pick Cutter Gauthier.
See this kid right here? This is Cutter Gauthier, and he is the Philadelphia Flyers' 5th overall pick in 2022. His ceiling is projected to be a prime modern NHL power forward, and with the way that he performed at the World Juniors, it's certainly possible that projection may come true. However, everything just got completely out of hand. And ironically, history is repeating itself in the NHL in a strange way. In case you missed it, on January 8th of 2024, it was announced that the Flyers made a trade with the Anaheim Ducks that saw the rights to Cutter Gauthier head to the Ducks in exchange for defenseman Jamie Drysdale and a second-round pick. Now, initially, that was met with both surprise and anger from Philly fans, as Gauthier was supposed to be a significant part of the Flyers' future. However, after Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman broke the news, he provided some context around the trade, stating that Philly had a lot of trouble meeting with Gauthier at the World Juniors, and it was because the belief was that he just didn't want to play there. For that very reason, Philly pulled the trigger on the deal. Now, what would follow would be the aggressive aftermath of what happens when you piss off an entire franchise and their fans.
Go back to him not wanting to come to camp in the summer.
It does. And the reason why we didn't want to say anything was not to hide anything from our great fans. It was to try to protect the kid. Looked at us at the draft and told us he was built to be a Flyer, wanted to be a Flyer, and then a few months later told us that he didn't want to be a Flyer, didn't want to play for the Flyers. So
you don't want to be a Flyer, you're not going to be a Flyer. And we were very pleased in the return that we got, a player that we coveted.
I feel bad for Cutter when he comes to, well, I don't really feel bad for Cutter when he comes to Philadelphia, but
it's going to be a rough ride here.
It's going to be a rough ride here, and he earned it. Because you know what? We're Philadelphians, and that's how we want people who want to be here with us.
Cutter didn't want to play here in Philadelphia and didn't want to play for the Flyers. What's your reaction to that?
Then we don't want you.
I believe you've met Cutter Gauthier before. Were you surprised that he...
I don't know Cutter from a hole in a wall, and I'm not too interested in talking about him. I'd rather talk about Jamie. He's the guy that's coming here.
With the Flyers having a game against their arch rival in the Pittsburgh Penguins on the very same night, pretty much anyone who went on TV who was a part of the Flyers organization or media absolutely ripped this kid a new one. It was clear, this kid was not going to be missed on his way out, and in one single night, he became public enemy number 1 in Philly, and it just kept getting worse. After it caught fire on Twitter and on Instagram, it was revealed on Spitting Chiclet socials that Gauthier just outright admitted in interviews that he was a diehard Crosby and Penguins fan. You literally can't make this stuff up. Right now, history is repeating itself in the NHL because back in 1991, a kid named Eric Lindros did the same thing. Very rarely in hockey do you see a player who's drafted by their team actually refuse to report to that team and await a trade. But in 1991, Lindros did exactly that when he was drafted to the Quebec Nordiques. At the time, Lindros and his family were heavily criticized for their decision to not play for the Nordiques, and despite what rumors were swirling around about that situation, it was later revealed that he had issues with the Nordiques owner, who had a shady history himself. Ironically, Lindros was then traded to the Philadelphia Flyers and would become a future Hall of Famer. Fast forward to 2024, and the Flyers find themselves on the other end of a player holding out for a trade. In a way, it's pretty ironic. Now, is Cutter Gauthier going to be nearly as good as Eric Lindros? Not a chance. And honestly, that's what makes this entire situation all the more bizarre. Gauthier is a talented player. He was tied for the tournament scoring lead in the World Juniors, and he has the potential to be a real impact player in the NHL. But no matter how good you are or how good you're projected to be, this is a move that is automatically frowned upon. Eric Lindros was touted to be the next great one, and even after he lived up to the hype, he still got backlash from fans and around the league for his decision to not play for the Nordiques. The feeling from teammates, fans, and really the organization is one of entitlement coming from Gauthier. We will eventually find out the truth about why Gauthier wanted nothing to do with Philly. But like the Lindros situation, there's already speculation about his reluctancy to play under a coach like John Tortorella. Some say he had tips from other former players, and that was shot down rather quickly, but with the culture that Tortorella and the Flyers are trying to build, it doesn't seem like this would have been a good fit anyways. The Flyers are a rebuilding team that has had some surprising success so far this season, and what is clear is that Tortorella is building a culture that requires a full team buy-in. That, along with some of his coaching tactics, can rub players the wrong way, and it could deter some younger players from wanting to be a part of the organization. But right now, it's producing results. And while we don't know for certain why Gauthier wanted nothing to do with the Flyers, this is one of those situations that are extremely rare in the NHL. As a young player who hasn't proved anything yet, Gauthier instantly paints a target on his back before even playing a shift in the league. He may very well be an absolute stud for the Anaheim Ducks, but one thing is for certain. When he steps on the ice to play the Flyers, he will be public enemy number one in Philly for the rest of his professional hockey career.